Welcome to the Two Dads No Supervision podcast. I'm your host, Ian, with my co-host, Drew.
What's
Today,
up?
we're talking Panthers football.
Oh yeah. Someone has to do that crazy wow wow wow. Welcome to the Two Dads No Supervision podcast where we talk about pee, politics, Panthers, and parenthood. We're not afraid to cross streams even though we're standing in different stalls.
So the reason why we're talking about the Panthers is the reason why Drew and I became friends. We're both huge fans of the Carolina Panthers, and it led us to being in Facebook group chats talking and complaining about how bad the Panthers are. So buckle up. It's going to be a fun one.
Oh man. It's one of the most abusive relationships of my life. I keep coming back. They keep beating me up, and I keep coming back. I'm wearing Christian McCaffrey jersey. Like, he was my guy, and man, just cuts me to the core.
Yeah, I have a Luke Kuechly jersey in my closet right now. I've got a Jeremy Chin jersey in my closet right now, and I've got a Cam Newton jersey in my closet right now. I'm not getting any new jerseys because whenever I get a jersey, they either retire quickly or they get traded to another team.
Yeah, I got Bryce Young, and I don't know. It's been sketchy the last couple of years when I was gonna wear that, but it looked good at the end of last season.
I'm excited for Bryce, man. I wasn't a huge Bryce fan coming out of college, but he really showed that he's going to be the franchise quarterback for us.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. He's looking good, really good.
So, Drew, why did you become a Panthers fan?
Man, I grew up in a family with no football whatsoever. I am the first real football fan in my family, and it it really started in 2004. So I watched the 2003 Patriots Panthers Super Bowl, and I think that was my first full football game. I did watch the Bucks Raiders Super Bowl the year before, but the '03 Panthers Super Bowl, that was like, that's awesome. And I'm from North Carolina, and so that's my team. And then I got ESPN Football 2K4 with TO on the front, and I spent hours and hours, and that was my education into football. Played Madden, and ESPN 2K5 was peak video game football, but that's a whole nother conversation. But Panthers have been my team ever since, and I couldn't imagine looking anywhere else.
Yeah, was it the Carolina Panthers or was it Janet Jackson that got you interested in football?
So we turned off the Super Bowl halftime show, so I had no idea what was going on until like the following days, where people were like, "Oh, I can't believe it! I missed what?"
Oh man, yeah. I remember when that happened. I was like, did that just happen on national television? That's crazy. I became a Panthers fan later than that. I had always been a football fan, but I was never really a Seahawks fan. Seahawks fans always just annoyed me. But I was a huge college football fan, and one of my favorite players at the time was D'Angelo Williams. So I said, wherever D'Angelo Williams ends up getting drafted, that is the pro team that I'm going to start following. And of course, it led to the Carolina Panthers, which led to a lot of heartbreak, a lot of misery, a couple winning seasons.
D'Angelo was so fun to watch. And then when Jonathan Stewart came on, like that Double Trouble was something special.
Double Trouble was great. I actually sat behind Jonathan Stewart in church a few times because he went to my friend's church. Him and his dad have the thickest necks I have ever seen in my life. He was born to play football.
Yeah. I remember Stu coming out of Oregon, and they were talking about the eye drills that he had to learn that were different than everyone else, where they'd like shine laser pointers all over the room, and I don't know how they tracked it, but that was how he created his vision as a running back.
Yeah, honestly, he should have went to the UW instead of Oregon, but that is another tale for another podcast. But I do want to say, if you're trying to see what the pastor is saying, and have a clear vision there, don't sit behind Jonathan Stewart, because his neck is it's just going to block the entire stage in front of you. Um, But yeah,
That's awesome.
D'Angelo Williams got drafted to the Carolina Panthers, and at the time, my mom was getting into football as well, and she fell in love with Steve Smith by like happenstance, right?
How
So
could you
she
not?
became a Panthers fan, I became a Panthers fan. So it was just really cool that happened organically. Um, so my first jersey was actually a Julius Peppers jersey. Her first jersey
Mm.
was a Steve Smith jersey. But yeah, I just following the team ever since, and just being heartbroken ever since.
It seems like moms all over are falling in love with Steve Smith, even to this day.
Look, uh, Steve Smith does have a lot of good things going for him. He won at life, so I can't fault the guy. But this is supposed to be a family friendly show
Yeah.
as much as we can, but not that friendly, not that family friendly.
No,
Um,
he's on another level.
so exactly. So Drew, who were your, or I guess who are your favorite players that have donned the Panthers jersey, and who, when you think about, is just that is Panthers football right there.
First and foremost, Steve Smith. Um, I'd make jokes at his expense, but oh, man, no one will make you fall in love with football more than Steve Smith. In number 89, Agent 89, that guy loved football, and he played like a real football player. He played angry. As a 5'9", 190-pound dude, he couldn't do anything but play angry. And his superpower, like you could see it as he was trash talking the CBs on the field. He became more powerful as he went along. He got that nasty stiff arm. Um, I'll never forget when he broke out of, it was like 9 players on the Texans defense trying to tackle him at once, and then he just whoop up the field and touchdown. See you later. Like Steve Smith is the guy. He is the penultimate Panther, the keep pounding guy. Like I know we got Sam Mills with the history and all that, but Steve Smith is the guy that personified keep pounding. Um, and then more recent players, Luke. Luke is probably the most talented, and I get Julius Peppers and all that, but Luke Kuechly probably most talented, best football player that's ever, like skill wise, that's ever worn Panthers jersey, in my opinion. Cam Newton had, of course, the physical assets. Julius Peppers as well. Cam was a tremendous like leader, exciting guy. He could get a whole stadium going. He was the ultimate entertainer. But I would probably rank it in about that order, where it's Steve Smith up here, Luke, and then Cam, and then you got guys like the Thomas Davises and Greg Olsons and D'Angelo Williams, all of those in that lower bracket there. What about you?
Yeah, no, I that is a really good list. First and foremost for me, I'm just gonna have to say Cam Newton. I think Cam Newton not only embodied like what it is to be a Panther, but he was the city.
Hmm.
Like he has so much love for Charlotte, and he made sure to put Charlotte on a map when nobody really knew where Charlotte was. Um, and the enthusiasm that he played with, and the emotions that he played with on the field, and the leader that he was, I Yeah, I just we were blessed to have that franchise quarterback during that time, and I know a lot of us didn't really cherish it while we had it, but it ended up being kind of like a shooting star, where we had it for such a short amount of time, and um, when it was gone, then we really understood what that absence of Cam Newton was. Luke is up there as well. I think Luke is probably the best middle linebacker, if not the second best middle linebacker to ever play on the football field. And he just had that we called Cam Superman, but Luke Kuechly was really Superman because he would be Clark Kent during the day, and then he gets on the football field and Clark Kent is gone. He is angry Superman, understanding where the play is going to be, transporting right to the hole. It meeting ball carriers as they get the football. Um, I'm glad that he retired when he did, and um, he didn't have the issues that Dan Morgan had later in his career.
Yep.
But I just like when you talk about Panthers football, those are the two that really stand out to me. If I were to pick someone under the radar, or just one of my favorites would be John Beeson. John Beeson was
Okay.
just one of those guys who, either playing with him on Madden or just seeing him out on the field, just hitting people, amazing. And then Thomas Davis, right? Coming
Yeah, of
back
course.
from 3 torn ACLs, being able to do the things that he was able to do, not only athletically after the injuries, but the leader that he was. Being able to coach up Shaq Thompson. So Shaq Thompson was able to carry that legacy of great Panther linebackers. It's just we have really been blessed with the individual players that we've had. We just haven't been blessed with coaches or great front offices until now. Knock on wood.
Yeah, I think about Cam a lot. He had a ton going against him as a Panther. For one, he had Ron Rivera, good coach, solid, great guy, um, defensive minded. And the best offensive coordinator Cam ever had was old man Norv Turner, who was well past his prime years. Uh, and then it was just like maybe Rod Chazinski would be the second best OC that Cam had. Like it wasn't a great field to pick from. And then the support that he got his rookie year was the best. There wasn't really an offensive line to speak of, but as far as skill players, that was the best Cam ever had. And then it just was worse and worse and worse from there. We had Greg Olson, who was awesome, but Ted Ginn, like Ted would be a tremendous number three on a well-rounded offensive team, but Ted was our guy, uh, and so it was not easy for Cam. And Cam also didn't have the personal coaching on. For years, he struggled with throwing off his back foot, and then with that, he was throwing too high, and so he kept missing receivers. That's why his accuracy issues plagued him for a lot of his career. If he had like a Dave Canales, who seems to be really good on the fundamentals and a good QB whisperer type guy, if he had someone like that, I feel like his already gaudy stats would look incredibly more outrageous than they do.
Yeah, I mean, I think people need to understand that quarter quarterbacks play different sports, um, based off of the scheme that you're running. So under Mike Shula, Cam Newton was throwing the ball 20 yards or further more than any other quarterback in the NFL. And he was also throwing the ball 5 yards or less around the line of scrimmage, less than any quarterback in the NFL. So that is downfield passing. Uh, the other thing with that is we were sending 3 people, maybe 4 people out on routes because we were doing max protect. So you're talking about people who can't get separation, people who
You're
can be
Kevin
doubled.
Funchess and
All of them can be
Kelvin Benjamin.
doubled because you're only right because you're only sending a few of them out, and you're sending them downfield where the chance of that being a completion, even if they are getting separation, is lower than if it's within 5 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those things really hurt the stat line of Cam Newton. If you had an offensive coordinator that understood how to play the game, not only vertically, but horizontally as well, to stretch the defense from sideline to sideline as well as from end zone to end zone, we wouldn't even be like discussing who the best Panther of all time was.
Yep.
It would be Cam Newton. Cam Newton would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And
100%.
we would probably have at least one Super Bowl. You saw in 2018 when North came, either 2000 or 2019 when North came, well, one of those 2 years. Cam Newton for the first 8 weeks was putting up MVP level numbers, and then the TJ Watt hit happened.
Yeah, I believe that was 17.
It
And
it is what it is.
It ruined us.
Right. So it is what it is at that point. We saw a glimpse of what Cam Newton could have been if he had the coaching that was supposed to be there for him on the offensive side of the ball. Ron Rivera is a great leader, a great defensive mind, and I think someone who embodies the culture that you want in your football team. But he's not an offensive mind. He's not going to be the guy that's going to shape your quarterback. And Mike Shula was never going to be that guy. Mike Shula was only there because he's the son of Don Shula. That is it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, and
I could go on for hours ranting about this, but
I think that was Ron's biggest weakness was he hired buddies and connections to be the OC rather than like actually getting someone who, like a Ben Johnson to Dan Campbell type situation.
Well, and it was just philosophy too. Like Ron Rivera wanted to grind out games. Every Panther fan knows that if you are going into the second half with a lead,
it's run,
he's taking
run,
the foot
run,
off
run.
the gas. It doesn't matter if it's a 3-point lead. It doesn't mean if it's a 10-point lead, a 20-point lead. It doesn't matter. You have a lead. He's taking his foot off the gas. Right. We're draining clock, and we're playing field position at that point. I don't think a lot of offensive coordinators want to sign up for that role.
Dude, 2015, we could have been even more dominant if we wouldn't take our foot off the gas pedal every second half. It was so irritating. You could write the script of the game before it happened. Hey, we're going to be awesome in the beginning. We're going to be up pretty big at halftime, and then we're going to lay back. And then the other team's going to catch up, and it's going to be a really close game at the very end for no reason whatsoever, but we'll win it in the end.
Well, the thing is, too, is like I could understand if he was like, hey, we're going to run the ball and we are going to play field position. and we're going to stay aggressive on defense. But they don't stay aggressive on defense. They go into this like 4-man shell where now that they're only rushing 4 people or 3 people, they've got everybody deep and they're just allowing catch after catch after catch,
Yep.
hoping that the clock continues to drain down. And you're like, you had a 30-point lead. Rush,
Yeah.
rush the passer.
Yeah.
Get,
Just
get some
end the game.
sacks. Get some turnovers.
Like, come on, and please. Yeah. That team, with all of its weaknesses, if you look at the skill players on offense, it was not great. But all of the weaknesses of that team, they still could have been so much more dominant if they had just been coached in a more aggressive manner.
100%. And, Cotry caught the ball. So it is what the fix was in. They wanted to give Peyton Manning his last ring as he retired. But Cotry caught that ball. It
100%.
just
I watched it again the other day. Like, yep, that's a catch. Every definition of the word, he caught that. You can see it in all of the camera angles. Yeah, stupid.
and if Cotry catches that, if that's ruled a catch, we're not talking about Von Miller coming off the edge and getting a strip sack on Cam Newton and that turning into a touchdown. We're talking about having the ball on the other side of the 50. So that is potentially a 10-point swing, 14-point swing, just because you get that call wrong.
Yeah,
It can't happen.
it's tough. It was really tough. I do feel like sometimes as Panther fans, we look back at the 2015 season and I feel kind of like we're Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite. Like, man, back in the day, Cam Newton could throw the football over that mountain right there.
Yeah. how 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 much you want to make a bet I could throw that football over the mountain?
Yeah. Back in the day,
uh,
Cam could have jumped that. Cam could have smashed that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, chances are Cam probably could have threw the football over that mountain if you put him in
Yeah.
Napoleon Dynamite. But instead of focusing on the past and how much misery it's brought us, there is a lot of hope for this season coming up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually excited for the first time in I don't know how many years to watch Panther football again because we're actually playing football. Ending the year last year, we actually got to play some football, which was amazing. That's something that we hadn't been doing for at least 3 or 4 years.
Oh, yeah. I'm completely ready to be hurt and disappointed again. It's going to be awesome.
No, there's no hurt and disappointment when the Panthers win the Super Bowl this year and Bryce Young
Oh,
is the league
obviously.
MVP. You
Yeah, clearly
you heard
Super
it
Bowl.
here first. Bryce
Yep.
Young is going to be the league MVP. Ted McMillan is going to be the rookie of the year, and the Panthers are winning the Super Bowl.
Might as well
If
take
you
out a second
disagree,
mortgage now, put it all down on DraftKings. I'm telling you, it's happening.
this is not financial advice.
Yeah. Disclaimer.
I just want to point that out there. If you go ahead and do that and you win big, we should get a cut. But if you go ahead and do it and you lose, it's not our fault. Just saying.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, Bryce Young returning as the quarterback, for me, he really cemented himself as being the franchise quarterback last year. Coming back from adversity, being benched, and then really being the leader of this team. Drive in and drive out, really putting the Panthers in a position to score. If we had a defense that was not banged up, that could stop the run, we knew it was going to be rough going into the year, right? But when Derek Brown goes down, when you have injuries to the linebackers, when you have injuries to your secondary,
Man, we were
it just gets
we
worse
were
and
losing
worse and
third string
worse.
linebackers last year. We were hiring grocery store baggers, and they're getting injured the next day.
Look, I got a call last year. They were like, "Hey, do you want to
Right.
put on the cleats?" And I said,
Yeah.
"Not for you guys. I want to go to a winner.
Right.
I'm looking to get my ring."
Yeah. I'm over here 5'10", 220. Like, I could be a running back or something really slow.
Yeah, we are not the muscular 220. So
No.
when you see when you see a football player that is 6 foot, 225 pounds, and they've got like 10% body fat, that is not the body we're talking about when we when we put out our numbers.
We're more like the Donald Trump. What is he, 6'4", 240 or whatever he says?
Yeah, I think I'm closer to Lamar Jackson than I am Donald Trump. So at least there's that.
Yeah. On the scale.
Yes, yeah, on the scale. Nothing else in life. Lamar Jackson's faster than me. I am closer to Donald Trump athletically than I am to Lamar Jackson. But on the scale, I am closer to Lamar Jackson than I am Donald Trump.
So, um, I pulled up a roster of what our depth chart should look like off of our lads. Okay. So I just quickly looked over this and thought it seemed decently accurate. You see, we got the rookies in there and stuff like that. I know we'll talk about rookies in just a second, but as far as this starting roster, what do you think for offense?
I mean, the investments that we've had in the offensive line, I hope continues to pay dividends, right? It made Chuba Hubbard what Chuba Hubbard was last year, and
Yeah.
that's nothing to take away from Chuba. I think Chuba is a great running back, but you need like you need people to block for you before you can show your greatness, right? So allowing him to be Chuba and be the great running back that he is really helped Bryce's development, and it helped this offensive development as well. For me, the big addition is Tet McMillan. So I am a Washington Huskies fan. I know Pac-12 football. I know Tet McMillan because he was supposed to come to the Huskies last year. He was
Of
supposed to
course.
transfer when Jed Fish came over here. This is going to be Bryce Young's failsafe. As Adam Thielen has been Bryce Young's failsafe for the past couple of years, which is great. Love Adam. He's a grinder, day in and day out. But he does not have the athleticism and the playmaking ability that McMillan does, and that's going to be something that's going to open up the entire offense. I know a lot of people were concerned with Leggett last year, but being able to open up the offense, knowing that you're going to be able to run play action off of Chuba's ability to run the ball, and McMillan is going to force a safety to shade over towards McMillan, is going to open up these intermediate routes and these short routes for Leggett, so Leggett can end up being our Debo Samuel-esque type player.
Yeah, hopefully.
You get the ball to him out in space, and he's able to make moves, and he's hard to bring down, right? So I really like that pick. I think tight end wise, we still are not good. Um, I I was a big fan when we drafted Tommy Tremble, but I don't see
Same.
uh, any progression that we've had. Sanders, I hope progresses and turns into that person that we saw at Texas, because if that happens and we can open up the tight end game, look out. Like I said, Bryce Young, MVP, Panthers winning the Super Bowl.
So on paper, this is the best offensive line that I can ever remember for the Panthers, and we saw it last year in action. On paper, another year working together, they should be the same or better, especially now that we have a healthy, supposedly healthy Austin Corbett, and even with Cade Mays as the center, things were looking good. I even liked Brady Christensen at center, and so on paper, the line should be a sure thing. Top 10 in the league. Robert Hunt, beast. The real big question mark we all agree, I think, is Icky. He looked like he was making some strides last year, making some improvements on that left side. Hopefully, he continues to grow. He was a young prospect when we drafted him, and so there's a reason for patience there. Um, when it comes to Adam Thielen, each year his athleticism declines a bit, but he serves a really strong purpose in being not only that safety blanket for Bryce, but also by all accounts he's a great player coach, and especially with Leggett, that's a big deal because Leggett needs a lot of refinement on his wide receiver abilities. He is a great athlete. Um, his route running, his catching, all of that needs Adam Thielen's help. When people talk about T Mac coming into the draft, a lot of people were comparing him to Drake London or even Mike Evans, and I just didn't see those as good pro comps. But the more I watch him, a perfect comp, as close to perfect as you can get in my mind, is AJ Green. He is a 6'4". He's more of a finesse wide receiver, but AJ Green's superpower was that he was able to, like Mr. Fantastic, reach his arms out and pluck it out of anywhere and grab it. And that's kind of where T Mac is at as well, where he's running the route. He may be triple covered because he's the superstar at his college, but no matter what, suddenly out of nowhere, his arms just stretch out and then whoop, he's got the ball. And so I think I know I'm really excited about his addition to this offense. I think by year's end, Coker will hopefully have replaced Thielen, and I think he has that same skill set where he could be the big slot, and he could be that third wide receiver for us. I'm excited about Hunter Renfrow. I know not a lot of people are, but he and Thielen are in similar boats. Hunter Renfrow is he's really zippy as a tiny little white dude. He's the standard white guy adjective that he's a scrappy player. Well, he really is. He's a lot of fun to watch if he can get back up to speed. I have a lot of excitement for that. Um, yeah, I'm in the same boat with you on tight end. JT Sanders could be something. He seems like he has a lot of skills, a lot of high ceiling. Mitchell Evans is interesting out of Notre Dame. I don't know. He looks like he's a really well-rounded prospect. I just haven't watched too much tape on him to have a strong opinion one way or another. But a lot of people speak highly of him. The scouting report spoke highly of him. I think, um, and we can talk about rookies in a bit. I think the the possibility of a really high ceiling is the last guy we drafted, Jimmy Horn Jr. He is fast. He's fast. And all reports of him say this guy is hungry to learn. He is working so hard on his routes, on all the minutia of being a wide receiver. He is studying in the film room. He's soaking up everything good coaches have for him. I'm really high on Jimmy Horn, and I'm hoping that that he lives up to the billing. I feel like Like he could be around a Ted Ginn level player, and with of course a higher ceiling. Antonio Brown was a super late round pick that had that obsession of dealing with the minutia of being a great wide receiver. And if Jimmy Horn gets a hold of that, it could, who knows? Who knows what could happen?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the other thing with Jimmy Horn too is his explosiveness. He doesn't have to be something that's reliable, where he's
Hmm.
making, 5 or 6 plays a game. He only needs to make 1 or 2 plays a game to really change how the defense plays when he's on the field, right? And that is an underrated aspect of having someone that explosive. And as he learns the minutia, he can still contribute to the team, and Bryce can start to get more comfortable going his way as well, right? So
Yeah.
I do agree that we've really set up a really good foundation on offense. I think Dan Morgan has done a great job of identifying the need of getting our hog mollies out there, right? And building that offensive line, really investing into our running backs. I am really sad that Jonathan Brooks has had the injuries that he's had, but I do think that when you look at Chuba, when you look at the people that we've been able to bring in, ETN is another one that he played really good in Florida. Um, he wasn't as productive at Georgia, but Georgia had a lot of issues last year. As I was saying, like this running back room is going to be something that is going to be interesting to see how it develops. Without having Jonathan Brooks this year, who is going to be the people who spell Chuba? Is it Trevor? Is it the guy that we signed from Dallas?
Rico Dowdle.
So I mean, right. So we'll see what happens. But I do think Dan has done a great job of building this team up.
Yeah, Rico was best in that RB2 role where he came in and spelled whoever the primary was that year. Drawing a blank, but that was Rico's best role, and he did really well in that. I'm excited to see how he works with Chuba. I think we have probably a top 8 running back tandem in the league. Chuba by himself is probably top 6, and so I'm excited. I really am on offense.
Let's go to where both of our concerns are. Let's scroll down to the defense here.
Bum, bum, bum. Oop, jumping. All right, I'll get us started on defense. Derek Brown, superstar, top 3 defensive tackle in the league. I don't think that's questionable. The questionable part of it is he healthy yet? Hopefully. I'm also excited about a lot of the additions we made on the defensive line. We finally have a real live nose tackle in Bobby Brown. Um, And I know a lot of people joke that, hey, maybe having Bobby Brown on the same team as Cokehead over there, a wide receiver, is probably not a good idea. Haha, for those that know.
Well,
And then,
I was just going to say that Bobby Brown did a lot of nose tackling
yeah,
in in his
also
career
true.
singing. So that's the joke I was going to make.
Um, a lot of people are forgetting about Ashawn Robinson. He played really well for us towards the last half of the year. It took him a little while to get into the system. But once he was in there, once he was the guy, he played pretty well for us. And we're forgetting about him. Tershawn Wharton played extremely well for the Chiefs last year. Patrick Jones seems to be a great player who was kind of that edge outside linebacker for the Vikings. And so those guys, those signings, those are exciting. Of course, the biggest signing for us on defense has to be Trayvon Merrick. The guy is a beast in the box as a safety. Um, it seems like we are going to be playing um, where both safeties can rotate in the box or out deep as free safety. Um, I don't know how I feel about that. I think coaches tend to ignore the value of a safety being in the position that's best for them. For some reason, coaches are like, safeties are just that throwaway position we have in the secondary. But as a football fan and connoisseur, I really love the safety position. Grew up in the days of Cam Chancellor and Mike Minter and Earl Thomas and um, Ed Reed, of course, all those guys. And so I really think the Troy Polamalu is like we're undervaluing safety position, and I think having Trayvon Merrick and Ransom, the kid we just drafted, I think both of those are huge additions to our team that are kind of understated at the moment. In my opinion, biggest weaknesses on this team are going to be the linebackers, just all around. We needed more off the edge. We got two rookies that could be great, could be rookies, you know? um, Nick Scourton looks so good. If he plays, what was it? Purdue was the first college that he went to. If he plays like that, beast. And we got a steal pulling him at the top of the second round. Princely is, who knows? He looks like a speed rusher. The coaching staff thinks at his ceiling he's a double digit sack guy every year, but he's got a lot of stuff to fine tune in that. A lot of people say he needs more strength, more bull rush ability, but he says he squats 700 pounds, so that hasn't quite translated to the film yet. But if he's squatting 700 pounds and pushing offensive tackles out of the way, then I think that's a great pick for us. Overall, I have mild expectations for this defense. I liked Mike Jackson. Of course, I love J.C. Horn if he stays healthy. But asking for two full healthy seasons in a row, or two mostly healthy seasons in a row, that may be a lot to ask out of J.C. Um, Hopefully not. I think DJ Wonham is underrated. He was injured, and then once he finally got healthy towards the end of the season, he looked like a good player for us, especially setting that edge. Between you, me, and the internet, I am not a fan of EJ Evero. I was really high on him when he came in. Then I saw the crazy stuff he was pulling his first year, sending Marquise Haynes and Brian Burns out at corner, out wide, and blitzing J.C. Horn for no reason whatsoever. I did not like that at all. And then last year, look, he was the leader of statistically the worst defense in NFL history. How does he keep his job? I don't know. But look, we need to have an average defense. If we can't get an average defense this year, he's got to be gone. I'm saying like 15, number 15 or better. If we're not top 15 defense, we need a new coordinator yesterday. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are sometimes it's X's and O's, sometimes it's Jimmy and Joe's, right?
Mhm.
I don't think we had the Jimmys and Joes last year to properly evaluate Evro's ability to manage the defense. This is going to be a much better place to actually have that evaluation. I think the rookies that we brought in, Nick, when he was at Purdue, he was so versatile. So Ryan Waters, the guy who is the defensive coordinator for the Washington Huskies now, he was the head coach for Purdue. He was talking to one of our recruits about how he used Nick and how he wants to use that recruit. And Nick being able to stand up is going to be something that's going to be helpful for him. So He can stand up. He can play with his hand in the dirt. He can actually move inside too, even while losing the weight. Because Texas A&M had him gain weight so that he could play the edge in their system, and their system just does not produce production for the pass rushers, right? If you look at him, if you look at the guy that was drafted by the Bengals, Shamar Stewart, if you look at,
Who has yet to play, by the way, or practice. He's still holding out.
yeah, and then if you look at the defensive tackle that transferred to Ole Miss, I can't remember. He was the number one recruit during his class. Um, I, the comments are going to kill me for this, for
Yeah.
not knowing his name. But
If you said the name, I would remember.
when he went to Ole Miss, he started to produce, right? So it is. I do think his lack of production last year has to do with more with Texas A&M than it has to do with him as a player. And I think getting him in a system where he's going to have Derek Brown, where Bobby Brown's going to be taking up a couple blocks, right? Where hopefully Wallace takes that next step as well, right?
Hopefully.
I think that you could see him and Princely actually contribute pretty well for rookies. We don't need them to be all pros their first year, because last year we didn't have any pass rush, right? So if we can get a pass rush this year, uh, it will help, right? I mean, you're adding Derek Brown, you're adding an actual nose tackle, you're you're adding some sort of pass rush that you didn't have last year. And then you're adding safeties who can actually go out there and um, you know, play run support, play pass defense, and lay the lumber, right? These are things that we didn't have last year that I think drastically changes this defense. I don't think this is the top 10 defense. I'm not going to come out and say that, but I do think that maybe by the end of the year they're playing like a top 10 defense, because those rookies have gotten the snaps. They're playing together, and the X's and O's is actually giving them an advantage. Again, if that happens, Bryce Young MVP, Carolina Panthers Super Bowl champions. I'm just saying. I'm not saying to sell your house and put it all in DraftKings, but if you do and it hits, I want 20%.
I am saying that, and my name is Ian Ruther.
Uh, let's cut that. Cut that. Cut that. Cut that. Cut that.
So, what do you think is the biggest question mark for you on this defense?
I think one is the linebacking core. Um, actually, the number one is the pass rush. Right, we're expecting it to be better because we're expecting the rookies to be better than nothing that we had last year. But if we don't get any production out of them, pass rush wise, we're going to be in for a long year, because these corners are not good enough to be in coverage for 5 to 8 seconds every time a quarterback drops back.
Well,
I
no
can
corner
confidently
is.
say
Yeah.
that because no corner is good enough to stay in coverage for 5 to 8 seconds while a quarterback drops back, right? There has to be a pass rush there. And if there's not, there's enough skill on this defense that Evro has to find a way. He has to scheme up something. If we're not getting that, then yeah, I agree that Evro needs to be one of the first people to go next year.
Yeah. A lot rides on Trevin Wallace. We need him to be at least average right there in the middle. Um, he seems like a cool player. He started out really hot when he finally got the starts as a rookie, and then it just kind of petered off. And like,
Yeah. For me, it's going to be the other R&B legend. I know Bobby Brown needs to play really well, but Michael Jackson, him opposite of J.C. Horn, if he can actually go out there and play as well as he did last year, because he did play really well last year.
yeah,
If he can repeat that with the safeties that we have, um, and then again, if we can get a pass rush going, that does give me confidence that this defense is going to be able to be supportive to a much better offense than we're used to seeing from the Carolina Panthers in the last 5 years.
yeah. There's a lot of ifs, but if it happens, it's going to be a thing of beauty.
That's exactly what sports is. It's
Yeah.
always ifs and it's always our year, right? So I'm glad that this is our year. I'm sorry for the other 31 teams that are out there that think that they're going to win the Super Bowl. It's going to be the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah. We don't
Bryce
even
Young is
need a
going to
tush
be the
push.
MVP.
Yeah. We're just going to win on skill. We don't need your gimmicks.
Yeah, well, I will say that McMillan is used to catching passes from another very short quarterback. I don't know if the trajectory of ball really differs that much when you're talking about throwing, someone who's like 5'10", 5'11" versus 6'4", 6'5". But if the trajectory is something that is pretty different, he's used to it. The learning curve is not there.
Very true.
He's been catching balls from Noah Fafita for the last 2 years. And that was our podcast talking about the Carolina Panthers. Down below in the comments, please let us know who your favorite Panthers were and why you fell in love with the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah. Also, let us know everything we did wrong, everything we projected wrong, or how much you got for your second mortgage and you're putting on a bet.
Remember, if you do put the bet down and it hits, you owe me 20%.
Well,
If it doesn't
10%
hit,
each.
I never told you to do it. It is not my fault. Please like, subscribe, and share. This has been the Two Dads No Supervision podcast. Thank you.